All right, everybody, welcome back. It's Mo again. Well, in this lecture, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at zones, internal zones, which is a forward lookup zone and a reverse lookup zone, and see what is the difference between them. Well, a forward lookup zone resolves names to IPs. A reverse lookup zone is the opposite, resolves IPs to names. Remember, we could not reach from one side to another. Like if I tried to ping, I'm actually on the second 10 machine. If I tried to ping, let's say W10 dash one dot Udemy dot local, it's not going to work because I don't have any records and I don't have a zone called Udemy dot local. So my first thing is to create a zone to host this actual fix itself, which is a forward lookup zone. So I'm going to right click, new zone, next. It's the first one. Normally, you always create a primary. Remember, a stub zone is something that I could actually do for name resolution from another server, such as a conditional forwarder. But for now, I'm just going to do a primary zone to store my records there. The zone name is udemy.local, right? And I'm going to go next, create a new file, next, and allow both for dynamic updates, which means the record should be updated automatically, and finish. So here's my forward lookup zone. See, I start with names, and these are resource records. We'll see what they are. But then I could also create a reverse lookup zone, which resolves numbers to names, primary IP version 4. All right. My network is 192.168.223. Then I'm going to go next, create a new file, go next, and allow both dynamic updates. Then when I double click this, I see records here. So forward lookup zone, it resolves names to IPs. Reverse does the opposite. Look, I see an A record. I could right click and create records manually, and we'll see. Like the 1A is for IP version 4, the 4A's is for IP version 6. What is an A record? An A record is a record that resolves names to numbers. If I have 200 computers on the network, I need 200 A records so I could reach them by name. But where are the A records of the client machines? We'll see that in a moment. There's something called the start of authority. This keeps track of how many times your zone got modified. You see, I only modified it once, so I have the increment number as one. The name server identifies how many servers are hosting udemy.local. Right now, there's only one. If I refresh, I don't see anything else. Well, can I reach Udemy SRV1? Can I ping Udemy right now? SRV1 dot udemy.local. Can I actually do this? Yes, I can. But look, the firewall's on. Let me go ahead and remove the firewall. So let me get rid of the firewall because the firewall's blocking the traffic. Remember before it's like, I can't find it. Well, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of the firewall itself. So let me go to the properties and off. Same thing over here, off. And this one is also off. Then okay. Right? And if I go back and I try again, it's like, yes, there's a reply. You see that? So when it times out, it doesn't mean DNS is a problem. It means there's a firewall blocking it. See, now I could reach by name because there's an A record for this machine itself. If I try to reach my 10.1, it's like, I can't because I'm sending a request to my DNS server. Do you know anything about W10.1? Well, my server says, let's take a look at DNS and show you I don't have an A record for W10.1. If I still go to my first 10 machine and try to ping, let's say, Udemy SRV1, right, dot Udemy dot local, I should be able to because there's a record for Udemy SRV1. If I try to ping, let's say W10 dash 2 dot Udemy dot local, it's not going to work because I don't have an A record for this. If I restart the computer, let's say that second 10 machine, watch this, player, power, and restart. This will generate an A record automatically. What if I want to generate it without restarting? I mean, I just have to give it some time. There's an actual command line that I could do. ipconfig slash, remember, this is the first 10 machine, register DNS. It's going to tell me it requires elevation. Well, thank you for saying that. So I'm going to open the command prompt as administrator, right? As you see, and let me just, I could just do color space 2, as you see, and CLS and CD slash. It looks like we didn't do it from the beginning. All right. So now I tried to do what? I tried to do this ipconfig slash register DNS. This sends an A record to be registered under the DNS server from which machine? 10.1. So guess what? I go to my server, I refresh over here. I'm going to see 10.1. And look, why do I see 10.2? Because I restarted 10.2. And look at the start of authority. It tells me how many times it got changed. All right. Okay. So I should be able to ping right now. Let's see over here. w102.udemy.local. But look, it's timing out, which means, oh, firewall. All right. So let me go ahead and remove the firewall from here. So now I could be able to reach fully qualified internally with names because I have an A record for each machine. So the A record is the reason why I could reach internally by names. Without an A record, I won't be able to reach. So when I restart the computer, it generates the A record automatically. Or I could open the command prompt and do ipconfig slash register DNS to register the A record, right? Or I could create the A records manually, as I showed you, which it's something that you won't actually be doing. Let me turn off and turn off. So if I go back over here, I should be able to reach it. See, because I got rid of the firewall. Because I'm sending the request to my DNS server. See, W10-2. Look at this. Let me just show you again over here. If I do W10, I'm on 10.2. So if I try to ping 10.1 over here, right? So look at this. If I try to ping 10.1, let's say ping space www. Actually, I should be able to get online, right? Which is google.com. This is fine over here. Google.com. So it's timing out because of the firewall. But if I try to ping, I wanted to put something in the cache, and I'm going to do W10 dash what? One dot what? Dot Udemy dot local, right? Udemy dot local, and see this over here. I could. Okay, well, why? Because there's an A record. Well, guess what? I'm going to go to my server right over here, right? So here's my actual server, and I'm going to open DNS, and I'm going to get rid of that record. Look, I pinged which one? W10.1. So I'm going to delete W10.1 and click yes. Now I'm going to try again. Look at this. It's reaching. Why? Yes, it's cached. Why? Because look, ipconfig slash display DNS, and it's actually cached. I will see the record of 10.1 in the list over here. Let me show. Look, remember Google? I did it on purpose so I could show you. Look at this. Where's 10.1? Here it is. Okay, let me remove the cache by doing flush DNS. ipconfig slash flush DNS, right? That's what I'm doing over here. Then I'm going to try again and ping W10 was like, oh, I can't find it. The A record is not in the list over here. You see this? The A record is not in the list. So I have to go back to where? To my 10.1. I could either restart it or I could create it manually. Let me go back and show you again. Here's 10.1 and do the ipconfig register DNS one more time. See this? Now registration is done successfully, as you see, right? So if I go back to my server, watch this, and I refresh over here, I could see the record over here. So I go back to the 10.2. It's like, can I reach the 10.1? Yes, you can. See, that's the purpose of the A record. So the A record resolves names to what? To IP addresses. Without an A record, I won't be able to do that. So A records are under forward lookup zone. But a reverse lookup zone deals with something called a pointer record. A pointer record is the opposite. It resolves what? Numbers to names. Well, I could generate the pointer records manually from here. If I put a check mark, update pointer, it's going to automatically do it. And it should do it for the rest of them. You see that? And my server. So the pointer record will be actually in the list. So there's no A records on the reverse. Remember, a reverse lookup zone resolves numbers to IPs. A forward lookup zone resolves names to IPs. I don't have to create the pointer record manually. I could just refresh and they should be populated automatically. See, it shows the IP on the left side and the name on the right side. See that? IP on the left and the name on the right. That's what I see over here. So this is actually a good thing. This is one thing about zones. We're going to be working with more and more resource records, but so far we just looked at what? Name server, start of authority, A record, pointer record. How about this? If I go back over here and I right click and I create, let's say, a canonical name. Assuming that my server is hosting a website, I create www, I browse and say, that's actually hosted on where? Server one. You see that? Then okay. Now, if I go back over here and I say ping space www.udemy.local, dot local. Watch this. I could reach the server. It's like pinging the server because I have an alias. See, this is a fully qualified domain name. Look at the serial number 5. I'm going to refresh. Look, now it's 6 because I modified it. Okay, how about this? If I right click and I say new mail exchange record, what is a mail exchange record? It identifies the location of the email server. So I'm going to specify and say that it's located at server 1. I mean, today, you're probably using Office 365, Google Apps, right? But I'm going to do forward lookup zone, Udemy, and specify that it's actually on server 1. Then I'm going to click on OK. You see that? Just like this. So I'm going to refresh, and I have the actual exchange. Look at the serial number. And you see that? So let me take a look and see at the reverse lookup zone. The rest should be generated. It may take some time. I could actually restart the service and see how this actually works for us. All right. So these are internal name resolution, as you see, right? For internal name resolution, I could have created like manually from here and I could browse, but eventually it will be actually in the list. But I only have one server for name resolution right now. So I looked at the forward lookup zone. I looked at the reverse lookup zone. These are two things that I actually looked at, right? So this is typical what I actually do under the DNS server. All right. What we're going to be looking at next is I'm going to look at more DNS functionality. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to be hosting Active Directory on the actual server itself because right now the zone is locally onto this actual hard drive. So our next lecture, we're going to be actually installing Active Directory on the server. And we'll see how we could fault tolerance and like load balance multiple DNS servers. So we'll see you folks soon in another lecture. Bye for now. Okay.